they
organisms have
differently.
evolved
Yes.
to live in these conditions rather
The
than...
answer is probably yes, they could have, but we have no idea.
But we're geologists, not biologists, so...
There's that too, but I mean,
I think
still.
they look at the most extreme examples of life on Earth too, so that's a point where there's, you know, the really harsh conditions that they've evolved to adapt to them, but they still haven't gotten to that.
Yeah.
And there are places on Earth where there's no life because they're worse than the things that have evolved to be.
That's why there's such a huge study on extremophile life now, because they're trying to
They're getting ready to
see if
send that
life can
new-
exist under conditions like that.
Right.
They're getting ready to send that new whatever it is, right? With those
The
new
lab.
science laboratory.
yeah, with the new
Curiosity.
things that are
Oh
on.
my gosh, that sounds awesome.
The thing is, like, every time I drive by a Mini Cooper, I just look at it and be like, that's how big the thing is. The size of a Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So much cooler.
It is. It's powered. It's radioactively powered too. It's gonna
Really?
kick ass. Yeah.
Oh wow, it's
It's
gonna last
powered by
forever.
the decay of radioactive isotopes, so it'll just last forever.
Nice.
Never have to worry about running out of power, Martian winter anymore. It'll just go.
It'll crash on
That's
the way
what it
down.
is.
That's the thing, though.
Yeah.
The process in which they're getting it there is just so absurd. Like it's
Yeah.
a little thing, and then it gets
Totally
lowered on
watch that.
ropes
It's
as the
gonna
thing
crash, right?
decelerates to the atmosphere. Like
I
that's the
guarantee
thing.
it.
They can't test any of it on Earth, so this is all like theoretical and based on computers, and it won't ever
Yeah,
never be able
when
to
they
test
pull
it
it
until
off,
the
like
day.
how-
I can't believe they didn't do the bouncy ball thing like they did before. That was a good.
Because the thing is too big. They're
It works.
saying like the air
Alright,
cushions
let's
could
bring it
never
back.
stop this thing.
Let's bring it back. We can all gab after class if we feel like it.
So what about the
No?
subsurface?
I guess.
Possibility.
Yeah.
Shields you from UV.
Conditions.
You got
been there.
heat, you got pressure,
Well,
you
that's...
possibly have
Possible
liquid water.
Why don't we go to that point at the end? Why don't we continue on to the specifics of this paper?
Yeah, Adam, we're running
I thought that was part of the specifics of
Maybe at the end where we discuss,
Okay, so yeah, the Viking.
Okay.
What the Viking found.
possibilities. Yeah, there's the 3 Viking biology experiments.
I didn't never realize this, like what Viking, that they did those experiments where they took scoops of the soil and put it in like a little oven and added some water and some chemicals and heated up. Checked out what happened. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. There was a lot of problems with it though, as I recall.
Mm.
Because there's basically a lot of moving parts. Isn't that the one where it was a lot stickier?
No, that was on Phoenix.
Oh, that was Phoenix?
Yeah. When they had the little oven thing. Yeah, because it was like kind of wet.
Yeah,
And
they
they didn't
like-
expect that.
they
Yeah, they were like,
nothing-
oh, dump it in the thing. It just didn't come out of the
It's very
scoop.
tacky.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Viking.
Anyway.
Obviously, like they did those experiments.
It was gas release.
Yeah, they talked about how that it released some gases
But
that
there was
are.
more evidence for just not.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it could have been, but they just kind of more assumed that it was more interactions with the rocks and chemical process going on there than like life producing these gases.
And
Wow.
I think all except for one of them had the same amount of gas release after they heated it to a sterilization point.
Right, there was only one that had
there was
less.
one.
They just sterilized it and then redid the experiment.
But it's still getting off
Yeah, so that's kind of probably not. And so the other three things. The hematite was
Oh, for what makes it...
the couple of things that they kind of found that suggested life.
Yeah, that kind of all comes from ALH 4001. The kind of big, second to biggest claim. These things called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons found in combination with the carbonates, magnetite and iron sulfides.
Well, isn't it kind of curious though that this meteorite was ejected like long before life even happened on Earth, and we're using it for evidence towards life on Mars, even though
Well, we're
it's
looking for
environmental
like the
conditions.
building blocks of life, sort of, like
Yeah.
things that would eventually evolve into life as we know it. So we kind of, we have to
Yeah,
go
we're just kind
on.
of looking at the hints of life.
Right.
Starting on Earth.
Well, yeah, because the answer is so what are we debating? We just keep
Yeah,
finding
so-
newer and newer
within that meteorite, you got the whole carbonate idea there. And then your PAHs, which we're talking about that kind of earlier. Trying to
Yeah.
understand what that means.
Okay, here's my best shot at it. I looked it up. There is, evidently they're like a big deal. Clearly, because they're written in here. And there's this hypothesis that proposes that these PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, are assumed to be abundant in the primordial soup of early Earth. And basically they play a major role in the origin of life by mediating the synthesis of RNA molecules. Beyond that, it gets really like heavy biology, biochem definitions
so
that I don't understand all, but they're like
They allow for the synthesis of RNA.
allow the synthesis of RNA.
Aromatic hydrocarbons. So obviously
And
it's-
they're found like, there's terrestrial sources, they're found in oils and gases and stuff like that. And there's thought that there could still be some like atmospheric residual quantities as well. So that's what I know about that.
Yeah.
So that's included as a possible indicator of there having once been potential for life. Then there's this little worm-like thing. Remember, we put this fancy picture in that looks similar to
Is that
cyanobacteria.
the proposed fossilized bacteria?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably not, but
Yeah.
it looks like it could be.
Yeah, like that's like the only thing. Oh, it looks like that. Like, well, it could look like a lot of things.
I actually saw that study you were talking about with the bacteria and the comets or
They just
whatever.
found. I read that whole paper. It was really stupid. Dude clearly had no idea like of meteorite classes.
I mean, it's kind of relevant. We could just mention it. It's just like this. Scientists propose that there's bacteria in these comets.
It was fossilized bacteria. He proposed that he found evidence of fossilized bacteria in a chondritic meteorite.
Oh, I read that.
Which is like we were talking about that before class. Like chondritic meteorites are like vaporized refractory elements that then recombined into the meteorites, like the most primitive form of meteorite. Like if there was a fossil present, it would have been vaporized with the rest of everything.
Yeah.
And then so then the fossilized evidence suggests that fossil was put there after the meteorite formed, but you can't fossilize something in a meteorite. Like you need temperature and pressure, and not to mention that something probably couldn't live in a meteorite to begin with.
I think that just kind of shows the difference in thinking between geologists and biologists. Whereas we see it as like, that's stupid, that's impossible. They can look at it as likely and be optimistic about it.
It's the
Well, you
difference
don't have
in
the background knowledge.
Exactly, it's the difference in what we know. Like we know, this is a meteorite type, and this is how those meteorites form. Like you can't slip life into there, but then the biologist goes, oh hey, this looks like life, and then builds around that. Like we just know that.
Well, it's kind of like the problem that we had earlier with, like, what was it, people who are really highly trained in spectroscopy that were
Right.
saying that everything is
Metrologists
come up with
they were
numbers.
adding up
It's the
numbers.
same thing. If you look at it in like very narrow, like your perspective, and you need to look outside of your perspective to really find the answer.
If you're looking for something hard enough, you're going to find evidence of it.
Exactly. If you really want to find
Right.
life, you could find life of the kind of evidence above.
Alright, well, instead of fossilized bacteria, what about the magnetite? They kind of said that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's like the biggest deal. So I looked that up too, in the shape that they talk about. They say the shape is consistent with an origin by bacteria. So the details of that shape are that there are these magnetite crystal chains which have uniform crystal size and shape. There's gaps between the crystals. The orientation of the elongated crystals along the chain axis there's flexibility in the chains. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. And there's shows halos around the grains, which is possibly the remnant of membranes around the chains.
Now I think a lot of those things could just be product of the magnetic field from the core dynamo at the time, because you'll get that alignment of grains with wood.
Yeah, you just magnetite. It doesn't necessarily mean life. It just means that life on Earth uses those specific crystalline structures. Doesn't mean that it could form in other ways.
Yeah. I guess
Right. It's not conclusive evidence,
No.
but it's supporting evidence.
Yeah, it's definitely
I
supporting
think that's the
evidence.
point that they're making, is that this could support the idea of biogenic origin, but it's not like the zinger.
So what we get from this meteorite is that Mars had the potential to create things that could potentially have life.
Yeah, I mean,
Potentially.
I think just the fact that they have the PAHs like that, really, that's a okay, if life needs that, and life is required, or those things are required for life to exist, then I think that just kind of gives more supporting evidence. If all the conditions are there, then life will most likely rise.
They said that those could be
Obviously.
contamination, though. So.
Oh yeah, they did
How
say
much
that
could
too.
be-
They could be from Earth.
Even though they were
Like that.
sealed in a clean room.
Yeah, but for the readings too, like how they talk about how to keep down contamination, like they have to have like spores at like less than 300 parts per million. Like you're still gonna get a little bit of contamination. You can never have like your laser be perfectly clean.
Be contaminated before you even pick it up.
Exactly too. Like we found this in Antarctica. It was sitting there for a long time. Like it had plenty of opportunities to be contaminated.
Would have had to go through the atmosphere.
Mhm.
And is there something
Right.
like?
Do you guys don't care about that stuff, or methane, or?
Even methane, I guess.
We even already talked like you guys.
Yeah, we
Talked
can
about
mention
that.
it again.
Yeah, they brought this back
Theory
in the
test.
life thing.
Yeah, we talked about that already.
Yeah, didn't he reference that exact paper?
He does
Yeah, okay.
reference.
I thought it, yeah.
The paper that says there's not enough volcanic emission of methane to account for the atmospheric concentrations.
Potential. I mean, yeah, and it was a huge number too that they were like missing. You have to have a huge production of methane to increase its levels that Mars has.
So there's kind of a present gap in understanding right now in terms of
I guess, yeah. I mean, until we understand,
Well,
I
I
guess,
think
more
that
processes that form methane, then we're just gonna go for life.
I think the papers that that do account for those numbers, like volcanic sources, were published after this was published. So I think the time that they wrote this, everyone was like, well, this is another piece of evidence. Whereas by now, it's sort of like, it's not really looked at.
I mean, you still can't completely rule it out.
True, it's not completely
But,
ruled out, but
okay.
it's not very.
Exactly.
It's not very solid.
We now understand more ways of, producing methane without invoking life. We understand those
Right.
more, so those can compensate for the gap. But I mean, I still don't think you can completely rule out life as being a source of methane.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's sort of the take-home message that I get, anyways, from all of this, is that we just really don't know. If there was ever, if there was ever life, or if there
Say
currently
yes. We
is.
can't definitively say yes yet. I'm sure we'll eventually be able to get there.
Need a big drill.
A big drill in
They said that was on the.
But
next,
to be in
ESA.
different terrains, I think in the highlands, you may have a better bet. That was one thing that we looked at, like the Viking landers were all in the northern plains, and only analyzed the regolith. So
Yeah,
pretty confident that there's nothing living in the regolith right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect